Imagine a battlefield where the rules of physics are the only speed limit. On this horizon sits a standard shipping container, seemingly unremarkable until it's mounted onto a heavy truck. This is the housing for a 1 megawatt laser turret. It doesn't fire shells or missiles, it fires concentrated beams of green light from a 1 meter wide turret, powered by a 100 kilowatt-hour battery. To put that in perspective, that battery provides enough energy for 6 minutes of continuous firing. And when the reserves run low, you don't need a specialized refueling station. If you hook a generator to the truck's own 500 horsepower engine, the entire weapon system can be fully recharged and ready for combat in about 16 minutes. The precision is almost haunting. This laser can focus its beam onto a tiny 5 centimeter spot from a distance of 50 kilometers. At that range, the intensity reaches 50 kilowatts per square centimeter. Compare that to a squad of 4 jet aircraft flying low. Typically, pilots have a 40 to 60 second window after hearing a radar warning to release their payload and duck behind the horizon to break a lock. But lasers travel at the speed of light. Against this weapon, the first plane is transformed into a fireball within 200 milliseconds of the trigger pull. The entire engagement, all 4 targets, is over in 4 seconds. This technology is no longer a future concept. These systems are already being deployed in live war zones today. But what exactly is happening inside that beam? To understand the military's obsession, we have to look at the massive gulf between the lasers we use every day and the ones designed for destruction. Most lasers you encounter are incredibly weak. A handheld laser pointer is measured in milliwatts. Even the high-end lasers used in light shows only manage a few tens of watts, less power than a standard household light bulb. They are dangerous to human eyes or camera sensors because the light is so concentrated, but they won't melt through steel. Military lasers used for range-finding or target designation are similar. They only need the beam to bounce off a surface and remain visible across a distance. A laser weapon, however, is designed to destroy by melting metal and igniting fuel tanks. It achieves this by focusing tens of thousands of watts onto a microscopic point, mimicking the heat of a dozen industrial blowtorches hitting the exact same spot. Today's cutting-edge weapons, like the ones currently in testing, wield 300 kilowatts of power. That is the thermal equivalent of delivering a stick of TNT to a target every 3 seconds. Military planners are now chasing the Megawatt Dream. This theoretical peak would utilize green wavelength light, which behaves differently than the invisible infrared lasers we often use, and a massive 1 meter diameter mirror to focus the energy. Under a megawatt beam, a drone wouldn't last longer than the blink of an eye. In fact, as long as the turret is fed high-quality tracking data from air defense radar, it could theoretically eliminate an entire wave of over 100 missiles before they ever reach their target, all without ever having to reload a single physical round. The reach of these weapons extends into the heavens. A satellite in low Earth orbit could have holes melted directly into its solar panels, while higher altitude satellites could have their sensitive optics permanently blinded. However, we must be realistic. Lasers are not the ultimate weapon. They are strictly line of sight. They cannot strike targets behind hills or over the horizon, and they are entirely dependent on radar to tell them where to point. Furthermore, a heavily armored main battle tank can currently shrug off these beams. So, if the potential is so high, why has it taken us 6 decades to get here? The journey began in 1960 when Gordon Gould at Hughes Research Lab produced the first beam of coherent red light using a ruby crystal. By pumping energy into the crystal with flashlight lamps, chromium atoms reached an excited state and shed photons at a specific red wavelength. By bouncing these photons between 2 mirrors, one fully reflective and one partially reflective, they created synchronized waves that escaped as a laser. That first laser was a pulse of only a few watts. It was described as igniting a bonfire just to get a candle's worth of light. The decades that followed were a graveyard of impractical designs. Scientists tried everything: fluorescent dyes, shockwaves in gas tubes, and even using radiation from nuclear reactors to pump lasers. Most were too dangerous or expensive. The chemical oxygen iodine laser, COIL, used in the famous YAL-1 airborne laser, was a prime example. It lived inside a Boeing 747 and produced a megawatt beam by mixing chlorine, iodine, and hydrogen peroxide. It was essentially a rocket engine converted into a light source. but the fuels were toxic and explosive, the exhaust was corrosive, and the massive plane could only carry enough chemicals for 20 shots. Another branch was the carbon dioxide laser, which is still used today in industrial cutters. During the Cold War, the Soviets even tried to launch a 1 megawatt CO2 laser satellite into orbit, but the rocket flipped during ascent and crashed. While CO2 lasers are reliable, they produce a beam that is 20 times harder to focus than green light and is heavily absorbed by water vapor, making them useless for long-range atmospheric combat. The real breakthrough came with fiber and semiconductor lasers. Fiber lasers take a source of light and send it down an optical fiber made of special glass embedded with ytterbium or neodymium. The length of the fiber allows those atoms to absorb energy and release it as a high-quality beam. Semiconductor lasers are somewhat like solar cells in reverse. Instead of using layers like gallium arsenide to absorb sunlight for electricity, they consume electricity to release their own photons. These are compact, scalable, and can be combined. Beam combining is the secret sauce of modern warfare. By merging dozens of smaller individual lasers into a single giant beam, weapons like Rafael's 100 kilowatt Iron Beam or the US Navy's 150 kilowatt HELIOS are becoming a reality. Lockheed Martin is already pushing these designs from 300 kilowatts to 500 kilowatts. These systems are efficient, with 30% to 50% of the electricity consumed actually reaching the focusing mirror as light, but power is nothing if you can't hit the target through the wall of the atmosphere. Air is a chaotic medium filled with dust, clouds, and water vapor that scatter light. Furthermore, air acts like a moving lens that distorts the beam, the same phenomenon that makes stars twinkle or creates mirages. To solve this, researchers use adaptive optics. By using flexible mirrors that can change shape in real time, they can measure atmospheric distortion and reverse it, ensuring the beam stays tight. To get through heavy fog or rain, they use brute force, simply vaporizing the water droplets in the beam's path to carve a clear channel. This requires massive energy, but new techniques involving shockwaves or short laser pulses are making it more efficient, costing only a few kilowatts to clear the way. Perhaps the most significant change is the economics of war. The Cold War era YAL-1 program cost $11 billion for a single impractical plane. But according to a 2024 congressional report, a 60 kilowatt laser now costs about $100 million, and a 250 kilowatt version costs $200 million. While that sounds expensive, consider that once the system is built, a shot costs only a few dollars in electricity. Compare that to a single-use interceptor missile that can cost millions. By the end of this decade, we expect 1 megawatt lasers to cost about the same as a single main battle tank. When that happens, the battlefield changes forever. Air dominance, the cornerstone of Western military strategy, will be challenged. Large, non-stealthy aircraft will become lumbering targets unless they carry their own lasers to create a megawatt exclusion zone around themselves. On the ground, tanks will become even more vital as they are one of the few platforms that can withstand the heat. At sea, ships will move in concentrated fleets to overlap their laser defenses, creating an inexhaustible shield against missile volleys. Even the terrifying threat of ballistic missiles changes. While a single laser turret might only defeat a few warheads during their 15 to 30-second atmospheric re-entry, it provides a layer of defense that many smaller nations can finally afford. We are moving toward a world where the cost of an attack is much higher than the cost of the defense. The problems holding back laser technology, power, cooling, and atmospheric distortion are being solved in real time. When the megawatt era fully arrives, the side with the most efficient batteries and the clearest mirrors will hold the keys to the kingdom.